would love to know first how you felt, not only as the first woman vice president of the United States, but also as a former prosecutor, as a mamala to two lovelies, as an auntie, as a woman, as an American, to that moment when you knew that Roe was gone.
And I immediately knew when that decision came down what it would mean for real people almost immediately in our country, who, for the most part, many will suffer in silence and are alone and without resources of many types. And I was extremely sad for that reason as well when that decision came down. Angry, and extremely sad about what it would mean for real people.
Yeah, she didn't care. Of all the versions of Kamala we get to see on a daily basis, the earnest Kamala who really cares about people, they had to suffer in silence, has to be the least genuine. And that's saying something for maybe the least genuine politician I've ever seen in my life, which is also saying something. Joining me now, Christina Bennett, live action correspondent, pro-life activist, which we, of course, love on this show. Christina, obviously these Democrats all have to pay lip service to how wonderful abortion is, which, what a horrible thing to pay lip service to, but abortion is not wonderful at all, is it?
It's not. And if we're going to talk about suffering in silence, like our vice president said in that clip, unborn children suffer in silence when they are killed in the womb and no one can hear their cry for help, when they are poisoned through chemical abortion pills, when they are torn apart by forceps and instruments, when they are burned alive in the womb. They are suffering in silence. And I am grateful that Roe versus Wade was overturned because that is an act of justice towards them. But of course, we know we need to continue to fight it on a state level.
I don't think a lot of people know, because this is sanitized by both political parties, by the media, by everybody. I don't think a lot of people know what you just said, that the baby suffers, that it's not some painless thing and then it's gone and the clump of cells has been disappeared. That's not how it is at all, is it?
It's not. And not only does a child suffer when they are being torn apart in the womb, but in many instances, the mother suffers as well, whether that's a botched abortion when fetal remains are left inside of her, or whether she's had a quote unquote successful abortion, but she's left with regret and pain, sorrow and shame, sometimes for years and years to come. Not only women experience this, but men as well. Men will also speak about their abortion regret. So will grandparents who their daughters and sons have participated in abortion. And so it truly causes suffering, of course, primarily to the unborn child who's being killed, but it also emotionally causes suffering to women and men and our families and our entire society. We all suffer when children are killed in the womb.
Tell me about your story. I love your story. Tell people about it.
Thank you. My mother scheduled to abort me at Mount Sinai Hospital in Hartford, Connecticut in 1981. And miraculously, a janitor saved my life. An African-American janitor saw my mom crying in the hospital hallway. She'd already paid for the abortion. She was wearing a white hospital robe. She was about to have the procedure. This janitor approached her, looked her in the eyes and said, "Do you want to have this baby?" My mom said yes, and she said, "God will give you the strength." Now, she told my mom to leave, but my mom was starting to leave, and the abortionist called her into his office, and there was blood on the floor from the last child that he had killed. And she was so disgusted, and she said, "I'm leaving. I changed my mind." And he said, "No, you've already paid for this." That's where his mindset was: money, business, you've already paid for this. And she insisted, I want to keep my baby, I'm leaving. And he screamed at her. He said, "Don't leave this room." But she ran out of the room, and she ended up holding it in her heart as a secret for over 20 years. And when I was in college, I discovered that my life was saved at the 11th hour. And that really thrust me into pro-life work, because I grew up in a family where I'd never heard abortion talked about at home. And I grew up going to public school. I'd never heard abortion talked about in a negative way at school. And I never heard it talked about in church. I'm from Connecticut, so it's a very progressive pro-abortion state. And so this was an eye-opening moment for me. It changed everything when I heard that story.
How about that? I love that story.
Thank you.
What's next for us? Obviously, we're thrilled. I'm thrilled. You're thrilled. Roe versus Wade is overturned. What are our next steps? Where do we go from here? Because obviously the mission, the goal is no more abortions in this country ever. Not something I'll see in my lifetime or you, but that's the goal. What's next?
Well, 13 to 14 states have, banned abortion, but there are many other states that have not, Connecticut being one of them, California, obviously, and other pro-abortion states. And so we need to be talking to our elected officials in these particular states. We need to be fighting against abortion expansion. In my state of Connecticut, they're trying to expand abortion in every possible way they can, allowing nurses, allowing midwives to do it. They're attacking pregnancy resource centers. So you need to know the names of your state representatives and your state senators, and to be on the local level fighting against abortion expansion. On the national level, many leaders are going to Washington, D.C. this weekend, because this Saturday is going to be the 1-year anniversary of Roe being overturned. And at Live Action, we are calling for our congressmen, we are calling for them to allow the 14th Amendment to truly not only protect all citizens, but protect the unborn children as well, who are also citizens of this country. And so we are fighting for amendment and legislation that would really protect children in the womb on a federal level, in every single state, that they be protected. It's wrong for there to be pro-life states and pro-abortion states, just like it was wrong in the days of slavery for there to be anti-slavery states and pro-slavery states. That made for a divided nation where some people received justice and other people did not. We want every state in this country to be a state where children in the womb are protected, and where we can acknowledge that the 14th Amendment includes them as well, that they are citizens and that they have a right to justice and a right to life and to liberty. And so those are some of the ways that we are fighting back. But I would just encourage every person to not only celebrate the victory of Roe, but to continue to work hard until we see legal protection for children across the board.
Amen. It's always been one of my favorite arguments when people say leave it up to the states. I love asking people, so you think they would be okay to own black people in Georgia? You'd be okay with that now? And just watch them just freeze. It's wonderful. Christina, You are the best. Keep doing what you do.
Are you tired of watching your beloved nation fall prey to the insidious grip of communism? The Anti-Communist Manifesto by Jesse Kelly is the ultimate guide to fighting back against this destructive force. Discover the shocking truth about communism infiltrating our education system, corporations, and even environmental movements. Unmask the true agenda behind groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and learn how to protect the United States from the most malicious enemy. With extensive documentation of past atrocities, you'll see the undeniable danger posed by this ideology. Arm yourself with knowledge and join the fight to preserve the American way of life. The Anti-Communist Manifesto, a new must-read book from Jesse Kelly. Get your copy today at jessekellybook.com or wherever books are sold.